I had a big growth week last week. I cried every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Not like all day, like bawling all day, but just coming to some realizations. Some relationships in my life really helped me get to this place where I had to face my fear of speaking. And the reason that I speak is because I had to heal my thyroid. Years ago, I had a tumor on my thyroid, and I had a lot of miscarriages, and so I went on medication, and then I don't want to stay on medication. So I said, you know, to my to my angels, my team, I just want to say right now, like, what a spirit guide. People have thrown around the word spirit guide, and I think the best way to think about a spirit guide is, if you think about you know, life as this board game, actually game of life, but you have to pick up all these different pieces, playing pieces. And see, right now in my mind, like, you should just stop this and start it over. This is terrible. I'm just going to push through this. So when a soul gets all the game pieces, learns all the lessons from the game of life, they can be done with coming back. So they keep coming back to learn lessons, and it feels like sometimes they can come back and you know, redo those lessons if they want. And then once they're done, once they have all of the game pieces, then they can stay in spirit. And so they've already played the game multiple times, so they've already learned the lessons, and now from spirit, they help people who are in physical human form playing the game now. So that's why when people's spirit guides, when I hear them, I feel like an essence. I feel kind of a personality. And that's why not everybody's like in tune with their spirit guides, but I have someone that has like an old guy spirit guide, and then a young kind of hippie guy. And so when each guide talks, they'll say the same thing, but they'll say it in different ways because their essence is different. So their personalities are different. They don't have an ego. And I just had a healing today where I was explaining to this woman that we don't know, when we meet up with people, we don't know which pieces that they have already. We don't know which pieces they've got already, or what they're working on, or what their soul has them working on. So it's so complicated, and it's hard to describe. But basically, the more you can just love everyone, the easier it is for yourself. And here's why. Because so you're playing this game, but you're not playing against anybody except for yourself. So this came out. So I learned this, and then I said it in last night's meditation, Sunday night, whatever date that was. I really don't like speaking. That's where I started. So I don't like speaking at all. It makes me so uncomfortable. I only do it so that I keep my thyroid healed. And so I explain about being above political spectrums, but I really like to use political figures to make my points, to make my concepts clear. And so I have clients, healing clients, from all different places, like just not even just in this country, not even in my, from all over. And then so there's some Democrats, there's some Republicans, there's some independents, and there's some people who don't politics isn't even close. It's not even on their radar. So there's a person that doesn't live in my town. I think she lives in Virginia, and I did a healing, and her guides wanted me to post this thing, and it was a Judicial Watch video, and that video, and I said, and I knew this video would trigger some people who are on a different side, so I wrote on the top, this video is not for everyone. This is for specific healing clients that this was guided for, was channeled for. And so in this video, so the video triggered this person, pinning that, and this person wrote to me, I knew you were a conservative, I knew you were a Republican, it all makes sense now, all this stuff. And it says like, oh, hold on, I gotta go do a healing, I'll deal with this when I'm done. So I did a healing on someone, and then I checked in with the video and checked in, and the reason for this particular Judicial Watch video is because the person that it was meant for lives in Virginia and is walking around with a story. Hillary Clinton is so guilty, and she's still walking around free, and nothing's getting done. And so this story in this person's mind, this healing client's mind, is hurting her. She's like really kind of very focused on the guilt of Hillary Clinton, and nothing's getting done, and then of course when you hold one story, it magnetizes all this other stuff to it. So this video was meant for a conservative person who's angry about the story that Hillary Clinton is guilty and still walking around. Okay. So even though I put up, this isn't for everybody, whatever. So I triggered someone, and they took the time to feel their feelings and come up with cohesive, well, they wrote to me. and then I sat with that, and then that person's writing triggered me because they were implying that I didn't care that they called me a conservative or a Republican. I don't care. What anybody calls me doesn't make it true. But what bothered me was the explicitly stated that someone like me who meditates and does, you know, so I'm not a Buddhist, but I have had the Buddhist experience of emptiness, which I think is the same as enlightenment. And so I've explained that, and I work to give other people an easy way or help them find their own way to raise their vibration. It would be great if everybody was feeling enlightenment. Oh, I would love that. I'm going to make a video just on that, if everybody felt enlightenment. No one would make money off of all the pain and suffering that's happening right now anyway. But what triggered me about this note was the clear story, and so it triggered me. So that was me reacting to the story in her mind that like Republicans or conservatives can't be Buddhists or good people. So that's the story in her mind that was like thrown at me, like me meditating or being, you know, having this Buddhist thing doesn't go with being Republican or conservative. So, and it sort of felt like I was a liar, like they thought I was like a liar or like a fraud. And why I love this so much, why I love this experience so much, is because I was afraid all this time. I've been afraid. I'm afraid to talk. I don't like to talk. And because of my thyroid and one of the kids that died in Sandy Hook, said, you know, you're not just getting this information so you can keep it to yourself and share it with one person at a time in your healing room. You're supposed to teach this stuff. And then I'm afraid to teach this stuff because I feel like I sound crazy. And I feel like we live in such a charged environment right now that if because I already learned this lesson, but I used to try to explain to Democrats how Republicans felt and then explain to Republicans why Democrats feel or think the way they do. I grew up as an independent. Thank you. Oh, someone's checking on me. See, people are so loving. I'm at the bus stop and this person just wanted to make sure I'm okay. I do that to people all the time. You all right? It's so awesome. Loving people live in a loving world. It's so true. But so I grew up my whole life, half my family Republican, half Democrat. So I grew up as an independent and a real independent. And then recently after the election, when someone from one side screamed in my face, I had this shock moment where I'm like, oh my God, maybe I'm the other side. I was like, because I abhorred being screamed at, and I just was like, holy crap. just because I'm not upset, you know, that Hillary didn't win. They all were. They're upset. And if I'm not upset, then that means that I'm on the other side and blah, blah, blah. So all this time, I've been worried that one side's going to think I'm on the other side and the other side's going to think I'm on the other side, because you can't even talk to people right now about politics. But I really like to speak about political figures when I make my points, because everybody knows who they are. And it's like so much faster, so much easier. And so there were two friends that I gave credit in my mind for being, you know, independent or, you know, like middle of the road type stuff. And I, two different times, tried to teach those two people something. And I tried to use the political figures because it's just, for me, it's like so easy. It's like the difference to me between tying my own shoes or talking someone else through tying the shoes. Tying them. You know, make a loop. No, loop. Now, take the other side. No, the other lace and put her, you know, like imagine trying to tell somebody how to tie your shoes. Just tying them. So I triggered both friends, and I was like, why can't I just talk about what I want to talk about? How come I can't just talk? And I realized that, well, through her, I cried. I'm like, no one understands me. Nobody understands me, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you just can't use politics. You cannot use political figures to make these concepts. You have to use something else. So I started using my hound dogs, two Treeing Walker coonhounds. One is a male, one's female. So I'm like, and I made so I got triggered by this person writing to me saying basically that Republicans are horrible people, you know, and I can't believe that you you do this Buddhist stuff and meditation and all that, and then you're a conservative. It was like it was basically, you know, reading between the lines, Republicans and conservatives are horrible, horrible people. So that triggered me because half of my family, half, is Republican. And I understand their points of view, like, completely. And you know, it's funny, they don't talk about politics, but the other side, in my experience, the other side makes everything political. But I also know someone who has the reverse. So, and I want to just say, it's not bad that the way things are right now. So there's this fighting and there's this division, right against left, and then there's people who are like, you guys, they're both the same. The system is what's broken. And then there's other people that are completely checked out and off the grid, you know. So you've got all these voices. And it's all, if your perspective is high enough, like if you look through the whole thing through the eyes of the angels, or, you know, from a high perspective, everybody's easier to love. Everyone, everybody. And if you really listen and you can understand their points of view, where there's what they're seeing and where they're coming from. But anyway, so I've been afraid, legitimately afraid to speak for years. Because I don't think I make sense to people, and I'm afraid that people are going to think I'm on the other side, and then they're going to do this, and they're going to think this, and they're going to hate me, because I see how the sides treat each other, and I didn't want to be part of it and whatever. So I just work at raising my vibration and raising everybody's vibration, and I feel honestly like if we raise a collective vibration high enough, then everybody's going to see that we're all on the same side. And in fact, because I got triggered, and because that person took the time to write that, and I got triggered at, oh my God, so then I see that I'm holding, how did it play out? I saw myself get bothered that this person's opinion is that all Republicans are bad, all conservatives are bad, or evil people, or whatever. That bothered me, because then I had the thought, that's part of the problem. That's part of the fighting. That's part of the problem. These people think they're so good, and then they are so hateful to the other side. And it's like the hate has no home here. You know, hate has no home here. Well, you could have said love lives here, but because Trump got elected, it's hate has no home here. So you're actually, hate is the subject of your sentence. And I use this all the time. And it's just, so they could have said love lives here, but they didn't, because they were talking about Trump. So this is the same thing. And that sign, hate has no home here, really irritated me until I worked through this last week. So I had to face this, my own fear of speaking, my own fear of being like pegged for the other side. No matter which side it was, it didn't really matter. But I was afraid of that. I was afraid of that. So when it finally happened, it set me free, because I'm like, that wasn't so bad. And then the person it happened with was probably, if I think, the person that it happened with was the best possible person for this to ever happen with. Because this is a person I really care for, and really works, I feel like works really hard at healing herself. So took the time to write to me, speak her truth, and then because she was so truthful, and you know, there was some anger there, of course, and then I got to work my stuff out. But what it did was it made me cry again, like, see, and then when I said, see, I knew that here comes the story that I'm holding. So she's holding the story that Republicans are all bad. I'm holding the story of what? See, nobody understands me. No one's ever going to understand me. Why do I talk? I don't even want to talk. Okay. I hate talking. I hate speaking. I don't even want to do this anymore. Let me just stop making videos. Let me just stop doing the renegade yogi meditations. I should just stop, because nobody understands me. Wah. Okay. So her triggered me, and then I get to see me. So in all my glory. Now, back to when I was telling the woman today about the souls, as we go around, we're playing this game, and we pick up the different player pieces, right? The only person playing against us is us. It's a version of us that's called the shadow. So each person has a part of them, or part of their personality, which is called the shadow. And then you can look in, you know, Carolyn Mace talks about archetypes. So like, I'm going to do an archetype wheel thing, where meditation, where you choose your archetypes, and then you chart your archetype wheel. And then when you see what your archetypes are, and you see where they fall in your wheel, like for example, I knew a person whose first house is like the face you present to the outside world. Hers was the victim. So she really, like, everybody was always feeling sorry for her all the time. And everybody would, like, try and do stuff for her all the time. And it was very enabling. And I'm sure it's still happening, you know, but it was an important relationship in my life to learn and see that how I disempower and enable people. Because I really disempowered, well, I enabled her, which is very disempowering to her. But she plays this role. Like, so her victim is in her first house, and you have to do all this stuff for her to make yourself feel better. So I was doing all this stuff for her. It's like, once she's fine, then I can relax. Once she's good, then I can relax. I just have to do this for her. I just have to do that for her, because her victim was in her first house. So then by experiencing that relationship, I learned how I enabled her, and how disempowering it is to enable someone. That was a huge lesson for me. And then I took that lesson and I use it in my relationship with my children, which is so awesome, because I know that if I enable my children, I'm disempowering. They go hand in hand. So enabling is disempowering. And I wouldn't have learned it so perfectly without this person in my life with the victim archetype. So my first house is the child archetype. So the face I present to the outside world, even though I'm a little OLD, is, you know, the child. And so when I learned that, it explains why people are constantly trying to help me. I'm like, I was a 30-year-old airline pilot for United Airlines. I had my own house on the lake. I'm like, why are people trying to help me? Like, what about my life screams help? Because I'm extremely happy. And like, I mean, really, really happy. I felt like I had the world by the balls, and I've got all these friends like trying to help me. And it was very confusing until I learned that I have a child archetype in my first house. That's what people are responding to. So I also am not intimidating to anybody, anywhere in the whole world. No one's intimidated by me. So that's kind of a fun thing. So when you know your archetypes and you know your personality, it's great. It makes things easier for you to move in your life and play this game and learn your lessons and play the game. Learn your lessons. But each archetype has a shadow to it. There's a shadow side. So when you play your own game of life, we always say, I am. It's about me. I am. It's about me. So you just keep your corner of the universe clean and clear. You raise your own vibration. You raise your vibration, keeps you healthy, happy, and then you positively impact the collective vibration. So whatever you do to raise your vibration, you're raising the collective vibration automatically. So it's a beautiful, beautiful system, and it's perfect exactly the way it is. So when you play your game of life, and you're collecting your pieces, you're learning your lessons, and you're moving around the board, there's all these other players on the board, but you're not playing against those players. You're playing against your own shadow. Okay? The beautiful irony is that your shadow is only playing against you so that you have more fun while you're playing your game of life. So it wants you to have fun playing. Oh, and Brian, this is why when I first start talking in a video, you say, I don't know what you're talking about at first, and then you bring it back around. Is because I so resist speaking, and I really don't like talking, and then now I'm getting into it more. So your shadow, okay, plays against you in your game of life. But the beautiful part is that even though your shadow is playing against you, it's actually rooting for you at the same time. So the shadow is just the shadow of your archetype, of your personality, works against you to help you learn your lessons and see what's happening. So it's the shadow of my personality. It's the shadow of my archetypes that make me enable and disempower that one friend. So it's my own shadow that says you got to keep helping her. You got to keep helping her. And then I reach a point where I finally ask the right question to my heart, like, how come she's never fine? Like, how come? And then I meditate, and then I learn, oh, I'm enabling and disempowering. Now I understand. I wouldn't have I wouldn't have learned that lesson. It was impossible for me to learn that lesson without my shadow side of my archetypes saying, you know, pulling me into that relationship with that person. So my shadow of my archetypes pull me into relationships, you know, so that I learn the lesson, so that I can get that game piece in the game of life. And then once I get all my game pieces, then I can be done. That's the game. So it takes however many lifetimes that it takes. And you can redo lessons, you can relearn lessons. I'm going to do more videos about people who've passed and what they've said. But basically, one was, there's no difference between being strong and being weak. So I would imagine there's really not a lot to your soul, from your soul perspective. There's no difference between being rich or being poor from your soul perspective. And I already know that the soul is attached to the lesson, not the classroom. So you can be rich or poor probably in most lessons. I have been really, really poor. I've lived in my car. And the thing with that, I trusted myself. I can't explain it. That's another video. But I kind of, in a big way, I really liked being poor because I trusted myself. And I learned like how to, you know, where the pizza, you know, pizza place throws out their pizza at a certain time. You know, McDonald's gives away their food right when they're closing. You can go through the drive-thru, in Florida anyway, you can go through the drive-thru and you can say, hey, do you have any food you're going to throw out? I'll wait 5 minutes till you're closed, you know, stuff like that. So you learn like all this stuff, and you learn where you get like, I don't know, you just can feel these people out. Like there was this lady at the United Airlines down in the operations area, and these people, like, I don't know, I just found a way, because I needed food, I found a way to pour this energy out where they would just give me food. It was a fun adventure. And I'm glad it's over now, but I really did enjoy it when I was there. So this video is about the game of life, and the only player playing against you is you. Everybody else is on the board and they're in the same game, and they're collecting game pieces too. They're all doing that, but only their shadow is playing against them. So their shadow sides of their archetypes is also pulling them into relationships with you. So this person who got triggered by this video that I put up for somebody else completely, she worked through what she needed to do by getting triggered, feeling it, and then she could have just said, you know, screw Carla, I'm never going to listen to her again, and have disappeared from my life and never told me. And that has happened to me. Woo! That has happened to me. She could have done that. A lot of people have, and it's not like she sees me. So she could have disappeared into nothingness, never to be heard from again, and blocked me and blocked me and blocked me. But thank God she didn't, because by her sitting with what was happening and working with it and allowing her shadow to pull her into a relationship with me, and then a conflict with me, and then me getting my trigger, which I needed in order to, because this whole, I hate talking, no one understands me, I don't want to talk, because even like I'm writing books, and I write from this, like, I can't wait till this book is over, and then I won't be nagged anymore. So I'm not writing from joy, I'm writing from still a weenie place. The bus is here, so I love you, love you, love you. I hope this makes sense. Love you. Thank you.